Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cheryl Hamilton. I am the director of Suitcase Stories at the International Institute of New England. Today is particularly special because I am joined here by another colleague at the International Institute of New England, and Rahmatullah Aka. The International Institute is an organization over 100 years old that welcomes and assists refugees and immigrants with refugee resettlement, education, employment, legal services, and then we amplify the voices of those newcomers through the program Suitcase Stories, which we'll be talking about today. Suitcase Stories is a program we launched a few years ago to really raise the profile of voices of people in our community, but also to bring people together through the art of storytelling, talking about our lives. What do we have in common? What do we get to learn from each other? Really getting insight of somebody else's life, which I've had the privilege of doing with Rahmatullah. He has performed several times now with Suitcase Stories. Rahmatullah, how did it feel the first time you got up on stage and told a story?
I think it feels really very amazing. I had the fear before that, how I will perform in front of like many hundred people there. And I was really scared. Maybe I will not be able to do that, but it really was amazing when I see that it makes you engage connected with the people. And it gave me a good feelings, and I decided, okay, I think I need to do it again. Because it makes you more involved. It makes you that you are sharing something with the people, and you feel that people are connected to you. So that was really an amazing experience for me.
Well, in Rahmatullah, we always say that everybody has at least one Suitcase Stories because migration affects all of us. You have many Suitcase Stories. You currently work as the Community Services Manager at our Boston site. The International Institute operates out of Boston, Lowell, and Southern New Hampshire. But previously you worked as a lawyer in Afghanistan, where you were born and grew up, correct?
Yes, this is correct. I actually graduated from the law degree, but I work as an advocate. I work in the different projects, yeah, that's where I grew up with.
Well, so let's talk about growing up. First of all, you said that your grandfather got you into law. Tell us the backstory.
My grandfather, and I'm really grateful for him, he was very passionate about education and about taking their kids to the education. And he was encouraging me to go to education, higher education. And that inspired me so that I can go to succeed in the exam to entry of the faculty education. And then I ended up in the law. And then I started my career from there.
Do you have brothers and sisters? I'm curious.
I do. I do have brothers. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
And where are you in the lineup? First, second, third?
I am actually the oldest one.
Was there pressure to have you really set a good example growing up?
Actually, at the time when we grew up, there were the different 2 stages. One of when my school education, where my family was like trying to survive. Actually, not only my family, everyone in the village around us were trying to survive and moving around because of the civil war. But at that time, my family was still very encouraged of education, and then they wanted me to go and educate, especially encouragement from my grandfather, late grandfather, that he wanted me to go and educate, and he encouraged my family to go and educate and let him to study.
Yeah, I remember speaking of this, the Civil War and later on, you said that to me once that you grew up with bullets all around you all the time. Can you say more about that? It's not something that obviously I grew up with, or many people have had to deal with that. What was that like as a child?
Well, the term, like when saying growing up with the bullets, this is when I was in the high school, in the primary school, actually, at the very beginning time, and the Civil War was there, and I was, as a child, never knew the fear, what the world will look like, because I knew the burden on my family. But I remember most of the times when I was in the village, I used to go to see my family in the village, and that in the village, I have seen like when the fights between the 2 groups were happening, and the bullets were all circling our village, our homes, hitting our homes, our village, and then it was very common situation for us. I know that people at that time were like hiding, running to hide in the places under the, we call it, there was like shelter types, like a bunkers our bunkers were our hallways, our corridors. We were hiding there, and in order to see when the fight between the two groups will stop, and then going back to normal life. And then you never know, the next night or day it happens again. And it was not something happening after a month, it was happening after 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
This was the time when I grew up with those moments.
And you actually described that education was so important that you actually went to a school at some point when you were younger, away from your family. It was in a different region of Afghanistan. And I will never forget that story, because you talked about how on break you would miss your mother, as everybody does, or their family. And it was unsafe for you just to travel directly home because of security risks. So instead, your father would meet you, and you would climb through the mountains of Afghanistan over several days, right? Just to be able to get to your village. How often did you have to do that? And what was that like for you?
I was still like very in a young age at that time in the school, and then my father, my family was living in another part of the country, and I was living with my uncle in the city where I have to go to school. But in the school holidays, I had to go and meet my mom, my family, to be with my siblings. When my father was coming and then asking me, okay, let's go, we are going to the city. And that going to the village, going to the village was something like, we have to prepare for a very long time. We have to have our suitcase. Like we have to go and climb the mountains to prepare all those things. So this was not a climbing for hiking for fun, but this was a climbing to go to visit your mom, your siblings. And then you have to walk through so many obstacles. You have to go through so many challenges and wait in the night to cross the border between two cities. And at the last, when you see your mom, that was a different feeling. So you forget all the tiredness, all the time that you spent climbing the mountains without eating on a regular time, without drinking on a regular time, and then you finally reach and see your mom, and then that tiredness completely go away from you. And I never forget that moment, actually.
I was going to say, it must be impossible. Obviously, it's impossible to forget, but is it also sometimes impossible to believe that you lived through it? Or just not just physically, but like that was part of your narrative, your life story, is being a young boy. Now that you're in the United States and we have security issues, but not to those levels, of course. How do you reconcile that?
I think when you are in that age, at that time, at that environment, it's hard to kind of believe that, or how I did that, or how it happened. But the more you are growing with the age, the more you're being in a different environment, like I'm here now, I think it's like, it's still thinking that how I did that, how possible this was. It's a story to me as well. And somehow it's like when people say a traumatic experience, and when we as the refugees sometimes avoid saying that I have gone through a traumatic experience, but now you feel that, oh, that was a traumatic experience. That was something that now you need treatment for that, or you need to see someone. Sometimes you are still believing that I don't have it, but still we have it. Like it's something that it will be with you for the lifetime.
Well, as you mentioned in the beginning, you actually told two suitcase stories. As you told one about climbing through the mountains in order to see your mother and reconnect with your family. The other one was about your work setting up higher education on behalf of USAID throughout Afghanistan. And I remember working with you on that story, and I said, you chose to put yourself at risk. I mean, you knew in that role it was going to be dangerous. And as someone who had already lived through a lot, it would have been easy to say, I don't want to do that. What compelled you? What was so important for you to go out and do that work? And can you describe the work you were doing?
I think what encouraged me was, like, I have gone through the same situation, and then my family created a vision to me so that I can follow up on that. But then I ended up, after graduating the law, and I ended up with this degree, with this career, and I joined this project. The project aim was in Afghanistan to improve the performance of the accountability of the justice sector, that every citizen peacefully resolve a dispute. And also, one of the other main goal of this project was to prepare the next generation of judges, prosecutors, lawyers from the university. And I was not only working in the office, but I was traveling to those remote areas where the government access was very low, and we have to go meet those people, those students, uh, 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 by the support of the USAID financial support. We were able to establish libraries so that they could have access to the new technology materials, establish computer labs. Moot course was something that we knew that we established in those universities. Like students can practice their law degree there, so that they can become a prosecutor with very established knowledge.
And you were saying that the insurgents and Taliban and others were trying to prevent you from doing this work. Why was this?
This was a major challenge. From somehow we wanted to work, from somehow the anti-government groups were trying to avoid not only us, but the girls that they wanted to educate in those, because we saw the hope there amongst the people, amongst their parents, but they were so scared, and they were trying to avoid them even to go to school and create an obstacle for them. They wanted to, I think the main goal was trying to avoid, keep those places behind reaching those education goals, and keep them in darkness. That's something that they wanted to, their aim was to, and they're still trying to do the same. And we know that how important it is if those people educate. Education helps with lots of things, brings so many things, good things to place.
What was your favorite part of that job? What did you really appreciate?
The favorite part of that job, behind those obstacles that sometimes when I think now, is traveling to those places where you never know, on the way you were stopped, you were searched, and you were prosecuted. Favorite part of when I see that a student from that university comes to United States, attends a moot court competition in DC capital, and then go back to the country and become a professor. Now I can see them, he is a professor in the university. So that my favorite part of thing is, I have had students that they told us that how they were reading on their cell phone, the old cell phone lights, reading their textbooks, preparing for those moot court competition that we were conducting. And then he traveled to outside here, attend with another 500 universities, and went back and become something. And he might never know that he will reach that goal. So that was my best part, and I can see that achievement still growing up in the country.
Yeah, you said you're actually still very good friends with many of the people you met as a student, a law student, but also through the project. Are there people still doing the work that you stay in touch with, or what is the status of those kinds of projects?
Those projects are happening, and people are moving around. People that I work with, they also face the same threat in life, and they were also forced to move out. They are now here in the country, in the United States, in different parts, working differently, like different jobs. The new people are there, new students are there, but it's still challenging. I have still observed, seen the challenge still there. People want to go work, but they have no other choice. There's no resettlement options available, right. Very limited. So they're still continuing going to work.
So speaking of risk, you spent 4 years in that project, and increasingly it did become incredibly risky. I know you lost people you cared about. I know that your life was threatened, and then eventually your family. And you said to me that really when it got to the level of other people you loved having their lives threatened, that was when you knew you needed to leave. You talk about being at the airport, speaking of suitcase stories, with your suitcase and saying goodbye to your family. Why did you, I don't want to say how did that feel, because it felt awful as you described, but what were you worried with? How do I ask this question?
I think I can.
You were, yeah, you know where I'm going. You and I worked together. Help me out.
Yes. This was the hardest moment when you feel that you are finally going to a new era of living, and you're going to start a new chapter in different place. But this was really a difficult moment when you see you are leaving someone behind. I want to make it more short. When I came to the airport, not only my family came in, but the other very sad moment was for me was when my university friends, my best friends, they also came to me to the airport to stay with me until my final going to the plane. And I remembered 3 of them were crying at the place because we spend so much time and you never know that what happens in your life. And they were crying there. And that moment, I never forget that. It's still with me. And I feel that how difficult is this when you're leaving someone behind. And that's something that you never choose this. That's something that destiny has brought to you, that you have to make a decision of leaving your career or leaving to another new place or accepting the threat or being assassinated someday. You never know. So this is...
That's actually one of the things I was trying and I couldn't find the words, despite being a storyteller. Like when you're on a plane and you have just left such important work behind you, you've left people you've loved, and you literally don't know what's the next chapter for yourself. What were you thinking might be ahead? I mean, this is the reality that many of our clients are facing every day. Like, what were you thinking about when you were approaching Logan Airport?
I knew that, like when I was in the plane, my mind was still what I left in the airport back. And I was still remembering things. So that challenge of being apart from people was so strong for me. And then when I was going to a new era, I was still very not thinking much more. But something was in my mind that I'm going to a new place that I know no one there, and I'm going to begin with something, and I'm sure that I may get help with where I'm going to, because I had this hope that where I'm going there, I'm sure that I'm going to get support where I have to land up there. But I knew that I'm going to a new place, a new culture, a new environment that I might not be able to engage very quickly, but I had the hope that I will get support.
So let's hear about how you engaged. We have benefited, if we fast forward, of you working for the International Institute of New England, but you first did come through our program as a client. What were those first months like?
Well, going to a new place, a different country with different law, different health system, different language, and different culture requires like a period of adjustment. And then I knew when I came in here, I wasn't sure of any of this system here. And then literally I found that, look, housing is a problem for me now. Employment, I have to find a job. And then communication with barriers for the people. Like even if I want to go to Starbucks to request a coffee, I never know what to do, what kind of coffee I want. Like these kind of barriers was ahead of me. And then, but luckily I get the support so I can move on.
Mm-hmm. And now you are welcoming other refugees and others through the work in your role. But we were talking about this week that it is very different right now. One of the last families you worked with arrived the day that Governor Baker suspended or basically put in the phasing and suspended people going to offices for essential services. Can you tell me about the family that was arriving generally and how you had to work with them differently than we work with others?
You mean the family that recently that happened, right?
Yep.
So when I came to a process, and then I knew the challenges, I knew all the problems, traumatic problems, everything. So when this family came in, I knew how I have to welcome them at the airport, or how I made them life easier. I know that things are changed now in the United States as well with this pandemic. And I wanted them to not to feel like they already have one challenge. I didn't want them to feel another challenge of pandemic. When they came in, it was very beginning of the lockdown. We were not able to physically meet them. The family were welcomed them by the USI at their house. And then we, from the IINE, provided them like visual conversation with the family to make sure that they are engaged. Because one of the problems with the family was having that they also left behind people like I did. So I knew that. So I had to kind of make them more a close connection with them. So I have to talk to them every day and support them, not only what they need, but also like support them like very mentally, so that they know that they're still connected the way with the people back there here the same way. And we talk every day. And they had problem with the housing, and I have gone through, and I have to help them to understand those challenges, so that overcome with those challenges, and now they are happy the way that they had a traumatic experience before, calling me that we are at home since 1 week, we haven't gone outside, and we are so scared, and we are feeling so alone, and we only want to call you, and we don't want to disturb you if that's okay. I told him, no, I'm really happy, call me, because they were calling me on the weekends and very late evening times. And I told them, like, this is something that you're doing very great, call me, and I want to talk to you. I created a video link with them so that we can face-to-face talk. But I was telling them that my own personal stories, like when I came in for the first time, I also didn't know anyone, and sometimes I was going outside where I was living. It was close to the water, so I was going to the water, sitting down there for hours and hours. Even at that time, I was not able to call my family because there was a big time difference, but I was sitting there on my own, so I felt being alone, how it felt. And I told him, like, oh, you know what, let's go do these activities. Go to this place, or go to this park where you make sure you don't follow these COVID precautions, but still stay there so that you can not feel alone. So I was giving them those instructions, because if somebody is coming as a new person, is completely blind to see what to do. So, but if you have someone to give them instructions, I think they feel more connected and they feel more happy.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I were talking about this, refugee resettlement is such a hands-on engagement with clients. I mean, people are in our offices, we're in their homes, we're doing orientations, both to their homes themselves, but also their neighborhoods. We're getting people appointments for medical checks. We're doing English assessment. Just the idea that all of that in a moment was transitioned online is just, it's just almost incomprehensible when you think of, I've been doing this work for 20 years, and to hear you having to do this work virtually, but to know, I think the most important thing is that loneliness piece, and to have you there is just, it's so important, and we're so grateful. And I think all of us at the International Institute have been really impressed by clients right now. I know that we have had 94% of attendance in our virtual English classes. I mean, with everything going on, you can understand that people might not have this be a priority, but in fact, everyone's making it just as much of a priority. So I just commend what you do all the time, Rahmatullah, and the entire team. But also just, I feel extra grateful that this family has someone like you who've gone through it and can give some perspective. I know people are curious if you're still interested in law, or if this is the transition to social work is where your future is, or what are you thinking?
I am actually, I'm still interested to go and complete law, but will be doing it differently. I will be advocating for the people. I will be working for the people. I'm now doing community advocacy and social policy studies. So hopefully, if I can finish, I'm sure I can help more people in the community, because I see the issues in the community. I can see the challenges that people are facing, but there's also a solution to help them. I think through working through these agencies, like I worked for the nonprofit before as well, but when I see it, like I don't see the nonprofit more like like a place where it can work for one aim, one project, one goal, but I can see it like a home for every people. And I see that how this social work is very important for the people. And my aim is like wherever I will be doing the same work, because I know the importance of how it can help the community. Let's say if we consider the refugee families, when they're coming with different experiences. They're coming with less education, they're coming with higher education, they're coming with different backgrounds, but they're coming with changing of family responsibilities, especially the young kids when they're coming here. But when you're working through a system of this nonprofit with them, providing the services, you are bringing a huge change in their life. And you can see that when you see them that their life is changing in a positive way, it means that it brings you a joy and happiness. And that's a rewarding work, actually. And the people I have seen that so many people that are doing this, I can give them like a thumbs up what they're doing, and I can see that some people are. This is the major work that people are doing it to bring a change for the people, for the community, and the community is when you are working toward help them solve their challenge. That's an amazing, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to mention. It's not about solving people's challenges for them. It's providing people the tools and confidence and connections to be able to do them themselves over time. I mean, that's the entire
Yes,
goal, right? Is
yes,
self-sufficiency and stability and a sense of belonging. I think belonging right now is particularly hard because we're all separated. But you're exactly right. I mean, this is why I do it. I know it's why you do it in many of our colleagues, is to make people feel a sense of
yes.
comfort and accomplishment. So
A,
again, I
a, a
think
very a very positive example. A client called, say that a client that we will help them to find a job. He called, say that the company I'm working, they need people. I can help them to with the process. So this is amazing.
yeah, when people reach out to us, I mean, that's a great point. Right now, obviously, many people, unfortunately, particularly the immigrant refugee community, have been affected economically and have lost jobs. If there's anybody watching this today that has connections with employers, we are looking for opportunities for our clients. We know that they have incredible high level of commitment and retention and desire to do well. And so if you're interested in reaching out to us, we have a wide range of skill set amongst the people that we work with. So Rahmatullah would be the first to hook you up with somebody to get connected. I want to invite anybody who's listening if they want to throw a question or two to Rahmatullah before we wrap up. But Rahmatullah, when you look back at your time in the United States, what have been some of the best and hardest things that you've personally faced while we wait for a question?
I think as every refugee, they're coming to a new environment. There are so many challenges. My challenges was how I can navigate the country, the city, the places. It was really hard for me. Even like I was scared to take the train to see how I can go to one place to another place. And then that was a major challenge for me. And the other challenge was of the housing affordability. I was very, I find it more difficult how I can go and find a place and to live. That was very challenging for me. And then where I grew up, I was not worried about any rent problem, but when I came here, I have to worry find a place, and that was really hard and challenging. I received support at the beginning. Like if I couldn't receive that support at the beginning, maybe I was in a very much challenging situation. But that was the things that I faced, and I can see the same for the refugees, families that they are coming. That's why we are here to help them.
And how about feelings of accomplishment? What have been some of the highlights for you?
The most thing is I made so many friends, like a family that I'm connected with. I'm feeling very happy when I go and meet them and I talk to them or I go out with them. The other thing is I am feeling more secure and safe now. That's a major challenge, accomplishment. When I call my mom sometimes in a very midnight when I'm outside working, I remember I worked in a night shift before when I came in here. My mom was telling me it's very late night there and you should be home. I said, Mom, you shouldn't worry. There's no those problems that I had it back there. So that's major accomplishment that I'm stable now. So.
I was actually going to ask you about your mom as an ending. I said, how is your family given everything? Are they safe and healthy and such in Afghanistan?
Yes, I think things are going pretty much well now, and thank God that my family is now safe. I still feel that there's still the challenge of you never know what happens. That fear exists whenever there's a blast. We have to call the family who is home, who is outside. That still exists there, but I know that there is a challenge. But I know that when I talk to them, they're fine, they're okay. But the fear of that daily things that are happening in the country is always with everyone, and it's also with me.
Well, with us as well by extension. Your colleague Ashley would like to say that she is so proud to be a very good friend of yours, and I know that echoes with everybody else on the staff. Rahmatullah, it's hard for those of us who have not walked in your shoes to completely get our heads around everything you've lived through, from a child climbing in the mountains to get to school, to defending the rights of people to have education and legal protection in Afghanistan, to then arriving here and having to rebuild your life. But
yes.
It's just, you're a remarkable person, and we're incredibly lucky to have you share your expertise with us as colleagues and with our families. And someone else just said you're amazing, and I second that. So I know that you're incredibly humble also, but I'll tell you that the first time you walked on stage and told your story for 600 people, it was silent. and you just had people captivated, and we're just a very inspiring individual. So continue your good work, and thank you. And we hopefully will see you at the office soon, someday. We're all looking forward to that. Oh.
Learned this program has contributed a lot of connection and build confidence. Even it built confidence to me that I'm confident to go and share my story. And I believe that through this storytelling, it brings a change. That's what I was not sure how I can tell my story, but I see when it's something that can bring a change by sharing your experiences with the people. So I know everybody has different stories, but when you share it with the people, that's amazing. I think it's critical connection.
No, I think it's important too. It makes us, we're all just having the same dreams and goals and hopes and fears, and that's what we connect through. So thank you, Rahmatullah. Thank you for everyone who joined us this afternoon, particularly all of our colleagues that were curious to hear more of your story, Rahmatullah. We are here every Wednesday at noon. Next week, I will be taking a break. My colleague, Teresa Kokin, the storyteller, and she works as our gifts processor, but also as a storyteller, a host, many talents. She's going to be in my chair, and she'll be speaking with Judith Black, a well-known storyteller here in New England, about her story. Judith first performed in Concord in 2017, and we'll be talking about her life and what's going on now with her. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks again, Rahmatullah. I'd like to offer that if you have ever considered making a gift to the International Institute of New England, this would be a great time. Throughout the month of August, a local family foundation has offered to match dollar for dollar any gift until we reach $15,000. I'm excited to report that we are already at $12,000. So if you go to IINE.org right now, your gift will be matched, and it will go to support the important services that Rahmatullah and the entire team at the International Institute of New England does, as well as direct client support in terms of food and rent assistance, which is more critical than ever. To learn more about Suitcase Stories, you can go to suitcasestories.org, and we will be back next Wednesday with another conversation with a new storyteller, Judith Black. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.